Ed Cooper, it is great to have you here at noise11.com. It's quite an historic occasion, isn't it, with two new albums? Two
Yeah, yeah,
classic old albums.
yeah.
Everything old is new again.
Two albums, Electrical Storm and Honeysteel's Gold, have been reissued after a long, long absence.
And now the first album and the fifth solo album here, everything is coming, including the Aints and the Laughing Clowns, but not chronologically, obviously.
I suppose we were sort of testing the waters a bit with the first two, and the response has been very good. So that sort of enables us to kind of go to the next step. I mean, we're not, no one would just release records if people weren't going to buy them, kind of thing. So, we have to look at those kind of aspects of it. But I think the artistic side of it, like when you view the records, everything is sort of in the past now. So to me, it's kind of all one body in a lot of ways, and so we just sort of take little bits out of it as we move on, to reflect whatever we can out of that body of work at that given time. Because there are different, you can approach some of the records from different perspectives, I guess, and yeah, it's a chance to reappraise, and not necessarily, I don't think it would have been really important to put the records out in chronological order. I actually think it's better to kind of show a little bit of diversity from different eras. Otherwise things kind of tend to be a little bit locked into a very narrow time zone sort of thing.
So what sort of timeline are you planning to do the entire catalogue over?
Oh God, whatever it takes. There is no official sort of, we're looking at putting out another couple of albums at the end before Christmas this year. Hopefully Frontierland on vinyl for the first time. And there's also an album that we've discovered that wasn't released in the mid-90s when I was doing a lot of records. And Phil Punch, my co-producer and the guy that recorded a lot of that stuff, came across this tape, and he got in touch and asked me, "Do you remember doing this?" And I said, "No." I kind of remember it now, but at first it had completely gotten lost. So hopefully that album will, it sort of was recorded directly after Frontierland, in preparation for a Frontierland tour, which, because I didn't have a band, I was looking at doing it solo. But this is a very special album, and I think it would be really appropriate, to put it out with Frontierland, because Frontierland's never been on vinyl, even though it was 100% analog recording and stuff. So, the record will be great. The vinyl will sound fantastic, because the stuff that Remote Control is doing is the pressings sound terrific. And yeah, so that's happening. There's a lot of stuff. I guess I'd like to have it all out now, but I don't think anyone in the business side of this agrees with me. I think they prefer to kind of stagger stuff.
There is a live tour coming up in September, right around Australia. Now, how much of the set list is being sourced by the two albums that are out now, Electrical Storm and Honey Steel Gold?
Oh, a reasonable amount. We're focusing on those two albums, so I'd say we'd be looking at least half of each album. Maybe a little bit more in the case of Honey Steel's Gold, just because there are some longer tracks on that. But yeah, it's sort of focused on those albums and on the singles that came out around those two albums, kind of thing. So it's a fairly broad range of stuff. But we're not going, I don't think we're going much beyond Honey Steel's Gold. So it's sort of, it kind of finishes in 91, 92. So we're looking at a 7-year period, being quite biblical about the whole thing. It'll be 7 years of plenty.
And the band you put together with Mark Dawson on drums, Alistair Spence on piano, Eamon Dilworth on brass, and Peter Oxley from Sunny Boys on bass. And Peter's joined you in the past, hasn't he, with the Aints? Not that long.
Yeah, I played with Pete a few times. He played on Gene Lee and the Yellow Dog. I've worked with Pete on and off for quite a few years now, and yeah, so they're all involved in it. Mark, of course, played drums on the original release of Honey Steele's Gold, and I haven't played with Mark for quite a long time, so it's good to have him back doing some of that stuff. The tour, yeah, it's. I'm really looking forward to it. That's sort of, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of revisit those songs and kind of find where they can, lead us now, kind of thing. Songs don't remain kind of, permanently stable kind of things, so these songs sort of move. But we're referring strongly to the originals because there's something fairly unique about the atmosphere and all that kind of stuff that I want to retain.
Well, I guess Bob Dylan is the master of evolving the song, isn't he? Do you evolve songs to that level?
Look, I don't listen to that much Bob Dylan, so I can't really compare. There's some of Dylan's records that are amongst my favourite records, but I haven't really liked anything he's done for a long time, kind of thing. So, but yeah, look, I don't know. It's not really a competition, so I change it in the way that I want to. I don't really know how to refer it to someone else, kind of thing.
You were in Melbourne earlier in the year with Jim White. I think there was only one song, Car Headlights, off these two albums that actually made it into the set list. Were you doing more off these two albums as you went around the country with Jim?
No, not much. We tried to sort of pick a set that was kind of unique to the actual project, and Car Headlights, I really liked the way I wasn't originally going to even include it in the set, but I was talking to Jim and we started playing it, and I just really liked the way that he played it. It was a really unique kind of take on the song. But no, we weren't doing much off either of these two albums, actually. We were doing like a fair bit of Laughing Clown stuff in the set from memory, and some of the later stuff like Lost Cities and Gene Lee and the Yellow Dog. So we were almost completely avoiding the early to mid part of my solo career in that set. It was just, I think it's important if you're going around playing stuff not to, I think I've got enough material to kind of change the set around a little bit.
The year that Electrical Storm came out, 1985, it was a very interesting musical year that year. The biggest selling album of the year that year was Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms. Second biggest was Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. There were two Talking Heads albums at the end of the year in the top 10. That was a very difficult year to be launching a solo career, wasn't it?
Yeah, but like I didn't ever sort of see myself in competition with Dire Straits, or Bruce Springsteen. I mean, they kind of operated in their world. I mean, there's always somebody, that's selling a lot of records, and I don't know, it seemed to be the right time to kind of start. I'd been sick of playing in bands after the Clowns didn't break up on a very friendly basis sort of thing, so everybody hated each other's guts, and I just sort of got over the bands for a while. Even these days, I mean, if I have a band, it's not a band where we kind of all hang out, playing pinball or anything like that. So whatever bands do.
Well, then what about when Honey Steele's Gold came along? I think that would have been about 1991. What was chart-wise your most successful album? You'd already clocked up, I think, a number of ARIA awards by that point. Had you
No, the ARIA Awards happened after. I think the first ARIA Award I actually got was post Honey Steals Gold. It was for the following album, Black Ticket Day, which had only been out for about a week. And I reckon, this is, like being a detective kind of person, I reckon that the judges thought they were voting for Honey Steals Gold. Let them deny it.
Here's a personal question for you, because I've got this thing in my head. I don't know whether I dreamt it or not. Did the Saints ever appear in an episode of The Saint with Roger Moore?
No. Ian Ogilvy. It was The Return of the Saint. Yeah. It was the series that they were making in the 70s. And the Simon Templar character was played by a guy called Ian Ogilvy. And yes, we did. And I have a photograph of me and Ian and the band all standing, holding something. I can't remember, some sort of an award, but I can't remember what it is. I'll have to dig it out sometime. But yeah, that is true. Yeah.
I'm glad that's true, because I do remember seeing it, but I remembered years later that it happened. And then I went Googling it and I couldn't find a thing about it too. And I'm thinking, was that a dream? But no.
Yeah, I can't remember which episode it is, but yeah, and I think it's, don't know if it still is, but you used to be able to get the DVD.
Right. I think you did I'm Stranded in that?
No, we did Lost and Found.
Lost and Found, okay. All right. Well, see, the memory isn't quite there.
No. Well, you hardly see me in the clip, so that's probably why you're confused.
Yeah. That time when I'm Stranded came out, September 1976, which predated Anarchy in the UK. The Sex Pistols get all of the accolades for founders of punk and whatever. You guys were doing it from the other side of the world months before.
Years before, really. The band, the Saints have been together since 1973. This would be, if we were all alive and good friends, then this would be our 50th anniversary world tour, probably. So, yeah, we were around before that, and we kind of did what we did by us. There was no industry, no support. There was no Malcolm McLaren or anything like that. We kind of managed to scrabble it together and get a record out, which was a really unusual kind of thing for a band of any type to do, sort of thing, And so it was. I think the actual release date was August the 2nd of 1976. That's the official release date. I found the receipts.
And Anarchy in the UK was the 26th of November 76, so it happened afterwards. So who were you sourcing your influences from at that point?
By the time we were recording, I think we had kind of developed our own style. I think the thing, like if you're asking me what sort of influenced me in music, I mean, I have to sort of go back to Love Me Do by the Beatles when I was about 8 years old. That was the reissue of Love Me Do. Because I think, I'm not 100% sure, it was their first single, but I don't know if it was the first single in Australia. But when it got reissued when they toured Australia in 1964 or something, that's when I first heard it. And so that song is responsible for getting me to want to play guitar. And then, I thought it would be great if the Beatles would sort of adopt me as their younger brother or mascot or something like that, and I could go on tour with them. That didn't happen, but a lot of music has influenced me, I think, like that. But there are a couple of really kind of pivotal records. I think I heard Funhouse by the Stooges in 1971. I bought that record on the basis of a really crappy review, which made it sound like something I might really like. I had no idea what it was really going to sound like, but I just liked the review. And I bought it, and kind of got absorbed in that record for quite a while. It was such a powerful work, you know. It was just great, and I'd loved the way that Ron Ashton that's the guitar player in the band, sort of just had this sort of almost orchestral kind of sound to his guitar. It was just so full, it was sort of there, and that was a big inspiration on me. I'd also have to, you know, I was listening to a lot of 50s stuff, Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry and that sort of thing. All that kind of music kind of got absorbed, and we sort of came out of it with, you know, something that we had a little claim on. And the funny thing is, most of the stuff that I found really inspiring was sort of like a few years old or even more, you know, decades going back to the 1950s or something. So that was what was inspiring me.
The last time I saw Chris Bailey perform under the brand The Saints was 2016. He played the Gasometer in Melbourne. I think you had the Aints out the following year. Do you ever regret not getting together for a finale?
No, not really. We tried quite a few times, and half the times it started off quite promisingly and then kind of deteriorated very quickly after that, and the other times it started off really badly and got worse, kind of thing. So no, I don't regret that. I started speaking to Chris again in preparation for this reissue that is being planned of the Saints' first album, where as a four LP box set. Actually, there's sort of quite a lot of other stuff. And we were planning, you know, just talking about how to proceed with that, and that was sort of shortly before he died. So that was the end of it. I don't think I kind of wish that the shows that we did attempt had been done with more I don't know, more sort of genuine enthusiasm on Chris's part. I always felt he had kind of like so many reservations and so many unresolved issues as far as he was concerned. I mean, I had unresolved issues, but I don't think I let it get in the way of what we were doing too much. But yeah, no. So that's my answer. No, I don't really regret it. It would have. I don't think it would have been a great way for the band to be remembered, sort of thing.
Well, we will get to see you right across September, all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast. You're going everywhere. So
yeah. Well, this is almost like the sort of tour that you would have done back in the 80s or early 90s, you know, in the days when you would go out on the road 4 or 5 weeks around Australia and then take a month off and then do the same thing again, kind of thing. You know, the glory days of local band touring Australia was that era. So yeah, we're doing that, which is either going to be like an amazingly rewarding experience, or otherwise, why the fuck did we do this? But I'm sure it'll be good. All the signs are that this is going to be a really good tour.
Yep, and even Tasmania is included. So
well, I always try to include. You know, it's not like we sit around and turn our noses up at places. I mean, you know, people often complain, you know, you say this is an Australian tour and yet you're only going halfway up the country, you know, that sort of thing. But you got to have venues, you got to have a local promoter that actually wants to put you on, and the time's got to be right too. So yeah, we always try. I always try.
Yeah. If you say you're going to do an Australian tour and you don't include Gundawindi, someone will complain about that. So
I know.
You can't win.
We drive through there though. Well, we used to in the days when we drive, but yeah.
Yeah, well, as long as you get out of the car and buy a vanilla slice when you're in town, they should be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ed, great to talk to you, and looking forward to the shows.
Paul, thank you. Nice talking to you again.